Making some more progress on the Scirocco. Made up a short list of stuff to complete, and it's getting down there. Got a little water leak, need a new heater valve, control valve. Dialed in the timing a little bit, got the motor to idle better. A little bit of tweaking on the fuel mixture there with the idle. And it almost seems like it has a air leak, so we need to check for some air leaks. And there's a fuel leak on one of the carbs, need to fix that. Pulled out all the jets and checked them, and I read that when you put those back in there, there's 3 pieces to it, and the screw has to kind of mash it down. So if you squish it all the way in on your own and then put the screw in, it might not be seated. So I might have created that situation, which I got to fix. And quite a process to go through to check even before you can begin to try and make it idle. So we're going to stop, recheck everything, go back from the beginning and kind of start over here on that part. See if we can get this thing to idle. And no water temperature gauge, so that got to get that figured out right away before we can really start messing with stuff. Haven't seen the fan go through a on-off cycle yet for the water, which is important to see that. I don't think we've got it hot enough yet for that to come on. But we need that temperature gauge, and other than that, finish up that list. Then it's time to put the fenders on, the grill, hood latch, windshield washer tube for the squirter, and it's getting close to being done. So we got the water temperature gauge figured out. Had to take the dash pod back out. It was a different color wire than was on the schematic. I figured there was a signal coming off a different wire, so I hooked it up, and sure enough, there it was. So that's good to go now. And doesn't seem to be leaking fuel anymore, which is good. Just fired it up a little bit ago, and doesn't seem to have an intake leak. It's got a low idle. So shut it off. Gonna get a better return spring here. Opened up the inspection holes for the progression holes on the throttle, and basically synchronized the throttle so they're both opening at the exact same time. Readjusted the air fuel screw there for the idle, and we're going to refire it and see if that's any closer, because they were off on the throttle. This one was open a little bit more than that one, so we got those dialed in quite a bit closer. So we'll see if that makes a difference here. Okay, so let's see what happens. Been having trouble with it, running pretty lean at idle. It's been starting up pretty good. At least it wasn't going lean that time. And it's kind of cold at the moment. for fuel. So, okay, now the Scirocco, still picking away at little things. I just drew up another list this morning to be knocked off, and waiting on some jets in the mail. Got the fenders on it, of course, and the hood to open and close. Starting to get the seats under control, and this little thing's getting picked away at it. It's getting really darn close. Spring break's coming up, so might come into play where we get this thing running and rolling out on the road. So still need to figure out something to do with some wheels for it. Yeah, we've got an air dam, which we haven't even broke out yet. So we can check that out too. Yeah, it's getting real darn close. Can't wait to get them jets here, so we can start doing some playing around with that thing. Got a new valve for the heater, so that doesn't leak water anymore. Got some clamps for the horns. Got some foam on the way for as far as a filter system for those. So got the wheels painted, got some tires on it. Don't know if I showed you. We got the glass in it. Finally scored a glass, which is nice. And been messing around a little bit with the carbs. Got a couple of jets. Needs a little bit fatter idle jet, and then a little bit leaner main jet. There it is, trying to lean out. When it heats up, it needs a little bit more fuel. It's cold right now. Alright, we're on about our 4th round of changing jets. It's getting better. Little tweaks on the timing. And we had to pull the choke off of there. It was leaking fuel, and they say that's a common problem with those I've seen on the internet, especially when they're tilted a little bit. So we got rid of that, made some block off plates, got the fuel leak stopped, and we're just put a little bit leaner main jet in there. So let's go ahead and fire it up. Changed it.
Need a richer idle? Yeah.
No. Seems pretty damn rich. Need to lean out the idle a little more. I mean, richen it up. Okay, we're going to do a little tuning on the distributor here. This is a distributor we had laying around. You can see where I've filed out the groove in here. That's for the advance. This motor is wanting way more advance than what we're getting with the distributor, so never done this before. This is kind of a trial by error. We'll go for it, see what we come up with. Alright, there's the Scirocco. It's looking pretty good. Got the wheels painted on it, got some new rubbers on it. The motor, it's running real good. We did some work on the distributor, and the motor's running real good. You know, when you turn the idle or the timing down low, it idles really good. But then you go out and drive it and it's kind of flat, as it doesn't have enough total timing. So I've got the MSD timing adjuster, so I can set the timing at 0, put the advance where I want it, and then when I'm driving it I can increase it by 15 degrees, and you know, the motor wakes up and it wants to run real good, and it even needs more timing than that. Problem is, when you leave it up there where it starts running better, then it's too much advance at idle, so you can't get it to idle down So the motor's gonna rip. This little car is gonna be pretty dang quick, but the problem is that distributor is not gonna work. It might work for more of a stock build, but with the carburetors, you know, the head opened up and the header on it, thing needs more timing. So all said and done, all this MSD stuff with that stock distributor, well now modified distributor, it ain't gonna work. So I think the next installment of this build is gonna include ripping the MSD out of there, and we're gonna have to go to crank fire ignition with some coil packs and be able to tune the timing in that it needs. You know, we can have like 10 degrees advanced on timing, and you know, who knows what it's going to need at the top end. But yeah, my boy's pretty bummed out. He wants to drive this thing, but it's not ready. So that MSD stuff's brand new. I'm going to have to sell it. Take like a $100–200 hit on that stuff probably. But that's the way it goes. And we'll put the electromotive XDI system in here, I think. I'm running electromotive on my yellow car, and it's the total engine control, so it's a little bit different, but it's the same company. Works real good, so we'll do that. And then I can't think of anything else we've done. You know, just tightening up bolts that are loose here and there, and we've been out driving it a couple times, and the brakes are insane. They stop like crazy. Still gonna have to go out on a wet day and take a little bit of rear bias out of it. There's the rear bias control down there. We've been through a full gamut of problems to finally get to where we're at here. We even had to pull the tranny out. The clutch I pulled off the shelf here of all my junk stuff. I grabbed one that had too big of a input shaft in there from the tranny. This tranny's got a smaller shaft. The clutch I used had the bigger one, so we went for a drive, let the clutch out, and the thing didn't move, so we had to pull the tranny out, put a different clutch in there, and that's all good now.